Can you imagine a member of the Guardia Civil walking into a courtroom and admitting that he is corrupt to the core? At first, we were furious when we read that press release, aka article, but that quickly turned into realizing that it pretty much is the next best thing to openly admitting corruption in court. Let's look at that press release. Someone at the Guardia Civil has been so hell-bent to share to all media in Spain, and let's do it together, shall we? For starters, nobody was arrested for having filed a false claim. What they did do, however, was subpoena and interview said Spanish male and confront him with the accusation that he has filed a false claim and then tried to bully him into renouncing it. Not keeling over when facing the Guardia Civil does take an admirable amount of guts and spine, but he did not. He did not keel over because he knows the facts. The interesting part, this press release is revealing, how come the person reporting a crime to the court is being bullied, is being accused by the Guardia Civil, while they very well know that this issue is still pending with the court? And they admitted themselves right here. No mentioning in this press release that those identified by us as thieves, for obvious reasons, do not have a legitimate or actual boat document in their possession. The Guardia Civil knows more than very well that a Dutch ICP, as presented as ownership documents by the thieves, is not even worth the paper it is printed on. Such a Dutch ICP is not valid for any vessel that is being navigated in Spanish territorial waters. For those not believing me, I have linked this documentary. It's in Dutch, but with English subtitles below and the description. By the way, the title of this documentary reads, Documents Loved by Criminals. But what I really liked about that press release, no, I have to admit I loved it, was the fact that the Guardia Civil, who has released this information, admits that they know that I am the owner of this particular vessel. Well, that also is not completely true. I am just the president and major shareholder of the company that owns her. But this set aside, let's focus on the key statement that has been made here, that I lost ownership of her in a court auction because of unpaid berthing fees. Cool. In that case, I suggest that the Guardia Civil presents the decreto issued by a court naming me, us, as the defendant in an auction for this 30-meter, 100-foot sailing yacht worth, according to their own claim, €4 million. A court action that generated some meager 180K for a vessel worth $4 million. A court auction announced and held legitimately that did not find bidders interested in offering more than 180K, the alleged winning bid. While the 180K are a totally absurd amount to begin with, but that really is another issue again. So they seriously are trying to suggest that we would have just watched without defending ourselves, without rather putting up these 150K and fight over the amount, but choose to sit back and watch a €4 million yacht being auctioned off from right underneath us for pennies on the dollar. Sure thing. But let's look at this fabled decreto together really quickly, shall we? We are looking for any mentioning of my name, Bruja, pronounced in German like the Spanish word bruja, or for the official and legal owner of AMIBON, Waves Incorporated, or at any mentioning of Belize, the country of current and valid registration with the ship register and not just some Mickey Mouse Dutch papers, or IMARBE, the official registration authority of Belize, or anything else that clearly identifies the owners of the vessel that has been auctioned to be us, just as the Guardia Civil confirms to us have been with their press release. How come I have this decreto? Because these crooks are so desperate to convince possible buyers that they are the legitimate owners of this vessel that they, without even asking, are sending a copy of it to anyone who shows the least bit of interest. Now, I am still scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and that is the end. So you have seen for yourself, there is zip, zero, zilch, nada, no mentioning of us at all. So how can it be for our boat? So now you have seen for yourself, there is zip, zero, zilch, nada, no mentioning of us at all. So how can it be for our boat? Interesting enough, the vessel we are talking about, our vessel, the vessel the Guardia Civil is not only publishing a photo of, but also stating its length overall is 30 meters. Same numbers are given by the thieves with their Dutch Mickey Mouse ICP. How can you win a bidding on a 26.7 meter boat and end up registering a 30-meter boat? You don't have to know much about boats to know that more than 3 meters in difference are not a neglectable detail. If this auction was held in accordance with the international laws regulating such an auction, namely the 1999 UN Geneva Convention on the Arrest of Ships, I'll put the link in the description, and that seems to be very questionable, to put it nicely. It obviously was not for our boat. So if the thief of AMIBON is who he claims to be, which is also highly questionable, he might be entitled to go on board the vessel he purchased in said auction. It is obvious that this is not this vessel. It is not our vessel, which makes taking it, changing its name on the stern, sailing around with it, equipping it with phony boat documents, not even allowing them to fly the Dutch flag, as you can see here. Not to mention trying to sell it, 2 out of at least 2 crimes, fraud and grand larceny, aka theft. And the Guardia Civil, instead of doing their job, is obviously hell-bent to rather aid and abet this crime, still in progress, rather protect the thief and attack the victims, rather go the extra mile and accuse the victims, bully them, than to solve this crime. And they admitted it basically right here in that press release. But what is the purpose of said press release? I don't know, but I do have a pretty good idea. The summary of my opinion would fit into the crime of aiding and abetting criminals as accomplice to the crimes of fraud and grand larceny. Why? The thieves are trying to sell that €4 million yacht, quote unquote, albeit actually for a fraction of that alleged bullshit value, a steal, sort of, no pun intended. And we, as the actual legal owners, are trying our best to get the word out to any prospective buyer not to buy her. The process of legal actions does take time, even with the best of all intentions and without some bad apples within the authorities trying to bully us and help them. Once she's sold, the profit pocketed by the criminals who are orchestrating this whole thing, it can be taken for granted that the company claiming to own her will be as quickly dissolved as it was founded just prior to the court auction. The man pretending to be one Johann Locke will disappear into the proverbial thin air, and so will the proceeds. What would lend itself better to convince a hesitant buyer, basically the next victim of these crooks, someone who did his homework, someone who found out about our claim, someone who starts asking pestering questions, that everything is A-okay, look, even the newspapers wrote about this nutter. At the same time, these newspaper articles have been abused to trigger greed. They claim that AMIBON, the real name of this wannabe phoenix, is worth 4 million euros, which is bullshit, it's way less, is designed to make a prospective buyer believe that these idiots of sellers are allowing him to make the deal of a lifetime. Because the thieves, these crooks, are offering this 4 million euro yacht for just a little more than 750,000. Out of the goodness of their hearts, or because they're stupid? Just look here at the advertisements of these two small-time yacht brokers who are very well aware that AMIBON actually is a stolen vessel, but still offer her for sale at such a low price that is a commission basically already earned. Now, these newspapers literally were abused to also aiding and abetting these crimes unknowingly, but I am looking forward to see how they now will react. They were abused as marketing tools and free of charge at that, while simultaneously tainting the legitimate owners of this vessel, who, after all, only committed the crime to ask a proper court of law to investigate this matter. Any journalist, any head of paper, worth their salt, and who have grown a spine don't really have a choice but to be furious. And usually it is a really bad idea to piss the media off, because they don't need to do us any favor. All they need to do is what most of them like to do anyways. Start investigating. That is all it takes. One bulldog journalist that digs in his teeth cannot be intimidated and or bribed, and one let go until he got to the bottom of this. Add to that maybe one maritime attorney taking pride in his work and taking pride in keeping right to remain right, and ideally one judge dedicated to restoring the honor and pride of the Spanish legal system, and who might also get furious over the disgrace his colleagues in Mallorca have brought upon his honorable profession, and to return this yacht to its rightful owners, us. That is absolutely all it will take.